just move my light a little bit like this. Well, hello everyone. This is a special comics drawing table episode, as we are going live instead of the usual pre-recorded, pre-assembled, pre-edited version. So no chances for cuts or edits here. And today there's also a special book I will going to be reviewing briefly. Um, it's not a classic as of yet, since it is Anna Lopin from PA. How are you? So as I was saying, this is a special comics drawing board drawing table episode. We're going live today, and Jeff Lafferty book, The Berserkonaut, was recently in Indiegogo in a campaign. I believe now it is finished, so there's no more chances to actually purchase through Indiegogo. But Jeff is trying his best to get this into the comic book shops. Now, Jeff, I got to know him through, well, briefly to some illustration work that he does, but more recently through this book that he was promoting. Um, and yeah, so Berserkonaut, caught my attention because it got, that Simon Beasley kind of feel to it. And just let you guys know that this is a lovely edition. Jeff has used these printers, has provided him with a cardboard stock for the cover. So this is kind of a harder cover than usual. And then inside we have also kind of a matte kind of paper, uh, where where the print, I believe, to my impressions, my first and last impression, does uh, he kind of plays justice to Jeff's work. So I think this is a good printing job. I think he went a couple of had a couple of backs and forths with the printer in order to be satisfied with what they were doing. But I it's my understanding that the result is pretty neat. So the Berserkonaut, first of all, I love this title. That's really cool, and I like that the O not is a slightly smaller font. I'm not sure if you guys can see it through the camera here. Um, okay, so this is a first part of a series of comics. So I know that Jeff will be doing more and releasing them more. As I was saying, Jeff is mainly a illustrator. He has worked previously in comics. He has done some work for heavy metal. He works in his with his paper, at least for his comic and most of his illustration work. And you can see here more at the bottom. He uses this stock, this paper stock, which is a brown paper, and it's got kind of this aged quality to it, almost like recycled paper. And then he goes straight at it with inks, pencil inks, and paint. Um, I believe he uses watercolor, but I'm not completely sure if some acrylics are also in play here. And Jeff writes as well the story. So briefly, this is a story of some kind of there's not much backstory to the Berserkonaut itself, at least not in this first issue. Um, but this is really just the opening salvo, of what I believe is a long story that Jeff will be doing with his character. And Berserkonaut works both as a some sort of superhero or an Avenger, so to speak. Not a Marvel Avenger, just an Avenger, basically, and also as what he entitles himself to be, which is a monster hunter. So he's both a security enforcer or a kind of a intergalactic or interdimensional police force, but he basically works solo with whatever backstory or intentions yet to be explained, as someone that goes around hunting monsters and in between, um, actually saving people from these monsters. But obviously, coming for a Jeff Lafferty comic, coming for the art. So the great thing about Jeff is that he's also a very accomplished stop motion artist. He's a stop motion filmmaker. If you go to his channel, which he has here on YouTube, you'll be able to see a lot of his stop motion work that he actually was kind enough and interesting enough to actually post videos on the making of those stop motion films that he does, short movies. And the making of is amazing. You get to see all the work that he puts into his marionettes, into his puppets, and his great work. And the Berserkonaut really comes from that. I mean, he's got the feel. I mean, when you look, if you go to his channel and you look at his stop motion movies, and then you come back here and you look at his drawings, I mean, this really is a 2D version of his 3D stop motion puppets. Um, his puppets are amazing. They're full of life, and the same here can be said with these lovely paintings that Jeff does for uh, for each one of his pages. In this particular episode, the Berserkonaut in a museum ends up facing down Frankenstein, which apparently looks like is the living entity of the Frankenstein monster, a living version of the Frankenstein monster. But then in the end, it turns out to be something else. Um, and I mean, the great thing about Jeff and the way he does is the way he plays with characters and dimensions here in his book. Again, the aesthetics of it really, as you can see here, as Berserkonaut is running, he really brings to mind his stop motion work. It's an amazing. It's almost like a facsimile of a stop motion movie, like almost like this would probably be like the comic book adaptation of a stop motion movie, like a Tim Burton movie or something. But we don't need Tim Burton to call Tim Burton into this because Jeff Lafferty is a great artist on his own. So, and yeah, so a little bit of um, love affair innuendo here. Yeah, and I just want to give you guys a little bit of show and tell of this book, a little bit of appreciation for it, because Jeff is a great guy and he's a great artist. And hopefully, this will be in the comic shops for you guys to purchase very soon, even if you missed the Indiegogo. And I mean, he's great that Jeff uses these paper stock, because then he allows him to play with shadows and background environments much more effectively, without having to make things overly dark or use too much of one color or another. As well, the actual paper is effective to use as a background color as well. So, sorry, the light is not the best. It's a bit too bright. I don't know why. As we've done these reviews before of other comics, and I haven't had this problem before. Maybe it's because this paper, although I'm pretty sure this is a matte paper, because it's not as glossy as the ones I know to be glossy. Um, still kind of gets a lot of shimmering from the light. So, okay, I said to Jeff that before posting this video, and I had actually recorded a version of this stream that I'm doing now. I had pre-recorded it, but after the um, polling stream we had on Friday, another stream from my 100 Days of Comics, that we had eBay Canales as the guest artist. Some of you might have missed that. It was Friday evening here in UK, here in Europe. Um, Probably around the afternoon for anyone else in US or in the Pacific, maybe early morning. Um, and that stream ended up going bad because first there was a lot of lag, and then eventually it just crashed completely at the end. So it's not actually available on my channel, and it won't be available anywhere else because it just got lost. One of those things that happens. It has happened to others, and it has happened to me on Friday. So unfortunately, we had a great stream with Bacon Alice where he was drawing it, and I was penciling one of my pages, and fortunately that one got lost. And over the weekend, I try to fix things a little bit as far as my internet goes. So I had to give it a break up to today, and I hope today we're back at full steam, and later on we're gonna have another live stream as well with a couple of guests, as I usually do every week. Um, but I didn't mention to Jeff that I would try to avoid giving any spoilers for anyone not familiar with the book but that still wants to get it. And he said, no, go ahead and spoil as much as you want. So, but there's great action. Again, this is really just a one shot with the Berserkonaut being introduced, him fighting a monster, him getting a lady friend, um, and then it ends in a cliffhanger, really, which we don't need to go there, but it's I believe it's a 22 pages book, and Jeff continuing this story. I don't know exactly how many issues he's planning, but if he does at least a good 4 issues out of this, well, you then hopefully you'll collect it as a trade paperback, and then you'll have a lovely trade with 80 pages of fully hand painted art by Jeff Lafferty, which is it's lovely, it's magnificent. So yeah, I mean, Jeff in his book uses a mixture of full bleed pages, some spreads, and all the environment is all very um, twisted and kind of slightly abstract, almost reminding a little bit of the kind of a surrealistic environment of the old German movies from the, the time where they were they were mute movies, um, like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And again, and that's a staple of a lot of stop motion animation. Again, referring back to Tim Burton and what he does with some of his environments and scenarios, and a lot of stop motion leaves out of that. And again, this is replicated to this comic here. So. So everything has a lot of mass. Everything kind of pops out of the page, really. Oh, sorry. Okay, guys. So this is a Berserkonaut for the one who didn't know yet or that missed it. And once again, I hope you will be on a comic book shop soon. And I believe either Jeff says here or say somewhere in his channels that this obviously is an ongoing story. This is only issue 1, and that you will be continuing the series very, very soon. So I think it's every 3 months you'll be putting one out. I believe that's what he says, but again, I'm not 100% sure. And then Jeff can always correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it will be one every 3 months. So, Berserker is an interesting character, precisely because nothing is said about him. So there's only indications of what he might be of where he might have come, and I'm sure that Jeff going forward exploring this character, you'll probably be a very interesting long story worth going through. Definitely going worth going through the journey because Jeff's art is amazing. So okay, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in a few hours from now, where I'll have a couple more guests on my usual Lewis Michael show, which this week is today, Tuesday, instead of usual Friday or Saturday. But join me soon, and hope you have a great afternoon, or evening, or morning. Bye bye. See you soon.